everyone, Mandy here, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing another how to roleplay on how to make thumbnails, because I get a lot of questions about thumbnails actually, and some people have asked me some pretty interesting questions, so I thought I might as well make another how to roleplay video, add on to the series, and talk about thumbnails. Now in this video I'm going to go over two different methods on how you can make thumbnails. One is going to be kind of external, not really in Minecraft, and one is going to be in Minecraft. Making thumbnails can be pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Sometimes your thumbnail can be a simple screenshot of in-game Minecraft, or it can be a fully drawn and detailed picture. The possibilities are honestly endless depending on what type of style you're going for. But I'm going to go over two different methods that I think would be most obtainable with some hard work and a little bit of elbow grease for people who are just starting out. When I first started out, I actually made my own thumbnails and renders and all that type of stuff. And it was a really big learning curve for me because it was honestly kind of hard to do because I was learning back then, but now I kind of know how to do it. But all of this stuff does come with a learning curve, just so you guys know. But that's what the tutorials are for. The first method that I'm going to be talking about is going to be rendered thumbnails. And here is a example of a rendered thumbnail, just so you know what that looks like. And the second method that I'm going to be talking about is going to be using Blockbuster and Metamorph within Minecraft to create a thumbnail, which I believe is kind of the easier of the two, to be honest. But before we get into any of that, I'm going to talk about tools and softwares that you guys can use. So the main tools and softwares that we're going to be talking about today and going over is going to be Cinema 4D, MandyMiss, Photoshop, and GIMP. Cinema 4D and MandyMiss are both programs that allow you to create Minecraft characters in a separate program and allow you to pose them and style them however you would want, attach whatever skin you want, etc, etc. Except Cinema 4D is a bit pricey, but MandyMiss is a free to download program where you are going to be able to, you know, do all the stuff, and it's specifically made for making Minecraft renders. And then Photoshop and GIMP are both photo editing softwares. Adobe Photoshop does cost around like $10.99 a month, or at least that's what I pay for it, because I pay for the subscription service for the photography set that you can get. And I understand not everybody can pay that monthly. I really wish that Adobe and Photoshop didn't switch over into monthly subscriptions, because it used to just be a one-time buy, and that was really, really cool. But now it is monthly subscriptions, unfortunately, for Photoshop. But GIMP is basically a free version of Photoshop that you can download onto your computer, and it has less features on it, but it basically works kind of the same as Photoshop. And I've used both of those, and they are pretty close in comparison. Obviously, one is going to have less features because it is a free program, and one isn't going to be as high quality as the other one, but you know what I mean. Now, if you're ever gonna search for GIMP, please make sure you're attaching keywords like photo editing software or picture editing software, so that way you don't see some really weird things, because GIMP is not a PG term, okay? So don't just Google GIMP and just search for things, and because you're gonna see some stuff that you don't want to see. So just always attach specific keywords like photo editing software or picture editing software, thumbnail making software, stuff like that, so that way you don't see stuff you don't want to see. So like I mentioned, I did actually start out making my own renders for thumbnails and whatnot, but ever since then I've met people who have actually can do a way better job than I can and can explain way better than I can at, you know, how to make renders and stuff like that for Minecraft. So I have asked my friend Matt, aka CxsmicVibess, to explain to you guys how he goes about making his own thumbnails and how he goes about making his own renders in Cinema 4D. So I'm gonna let Matt explain that portion to you, and then I'll be back for the Photoshop editing part.
Hello, this is my section of Mandy's tutorial video. I will be explaining how to make the render part of thumbnails. Just a fair warning before I begin, I am not a professional at tutorials. I'm very bad at explaining things, but I will do my best to help you guys. But first things first, Render thumbnails are when you render out your Minecraft character in a program like Cinema 4D or Minimator, and then combine it with a screenshot from like Minecraft, like a Minecraft screenshot of your like set in like a photo editing program like Photoshop or GIMP. Today I'll be using Cinema 4D to show you how I make renders instead of Minimator because that's what I use. I have a custom rig here. It's the Angelo rig. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. you can go around and make yours custom made. I had mine made by like a very close friend, but I will be using Mandy as an example. I am also using Sill's Lightroom, as you can see in the background right there. With the Lightroom, it automatically makes the hair. It makes the hair kind of like a cool texture thing. I am pressing left click and shift to make sure that I can still get everything, even though I pause and I can still click it. Because if I don't do that and just click with left click, it will restart. So you want to make sure that you're holding down shift for this. And then I click D and then I set it to 2.5. There you go. Look. It makes the hair all cool looking. I don't know what you call this, but I'm sure Mandy knows better than me. And then you just make that go back to her hair. But I will be removing it again because I need to set the stuff up. So what I usually do for Mandy's, when I'm making renders for her, I turn this down to 50 so that the outside layers are not sticking out so much. And then oh yeah, she is regular. This is second layer. I'm used to making my renders, so I was about to put it to Alex arms. But okay, that's usually what I do for Mandy. Oh yeah, and then down here, I click smooth edges and I set it to 20 here for the smooth edges size, and the chest size I go to 50 usually, and then the waist curve I also set to 20, and then look, it's Mandy. For the head stuff, you have to like click the line perfectly to get there, and then I usually click head controls object so it's easier for me to click again to get her face stuff. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can click the eyebrows color, and then I click on Mandy's eyebrow color. Look, so it's not black and it matches. That's just a personal preference for me, but you don't have to do that. I just like to have everything match. And for the eyeballs, Sill made a tutorial on how to get the circle eyeballs if anyone's wondering, but mine are already here and I don't know how to show that. But these are what mine look like regularly. You can set them to a specific color. I stopped using this one and started using a new one recently. If you click texture, if you want to use your the HDIs that you have on your skins and stuff, that's what I have. Green eyes, that's Mandy. Green eyes, like see. I try not to make it so bright because it kind of looks goofy when it's like just staring at you menacingly. I set it to 90 usually. I think that's pretty good. This one is at 80, but I'll set it to 90. It's not too bright and it's not too low. Doing the facial expressions are pretty easy because everything's like kind of set there for you. Like see, I usually raise the eyebrow to give some expression and stuff. It takes some time to like get used to all the controls and everything, but it just needs some practice. I'm gonna make Mandy happy. Like see, she's happy. And then I click no gap. And then the mouth size. There we go. My way of making the teeth go away is kind of complex. I don't know if other riggers, other Cinema 4D users have a different way, but I usually go to the back of the head and then go inside of her head. Oh, I need to scroll in. Okay, yeah. And then go in, you keep going in until you see this part. I make this go all the way down and then bring the top one. To give her some teeth. Another thing I like to do is to put on the eye controls and I lift this up to where the eyebrows are at. Like there. And then I also like to bring this up and I go down here to the position and copy the Y and go to the second one and then paste it so it's the same. And then you move the hair back on and you go to the X and click 0. The body, it's a little bit different than all the head stuff. I usually, to make it not bland, I just go like that. Even though it's not gonna be shown, I just do this for myself. And I click that, and I do this. And I usually move Mandy so I don't have her like in the same position to give it some life. I move her head, or her body, and then her head. And I move her head that way. I don't know how to explain how I do the body that much, because I usually just go with the flow at this point. I followed Haley's tutorial, Atmosphere. I followed her tutorial of her using Cinema 4D the first time, whenever the How to Make Your Roleplay, is that what it's called? Yeah, How to Roleplay series, when she did the Cinema 4D part. I learned from Atmosphere / Haley, and now I've gotten this far, so this could be you. The Angelico rig? Yeah, having a stroke. You can purchase it for yourself, and you can do all this cool stuff with it, and make it to your own personal use. And then you position the camera there. Yeah, I'm too zoomed in a little. I usually click the camera, and I turn it slightly to give it some life a little bit. Yeah, and then I click this thing right here. It's really small, camera object. And I set up the camera. Be careful though that you're not in the camera while you're fixing stuff outside, because I've done that many times and I've had to reset the camera. But I want to go back into the camera and click the head again. And down here, the X is what moves her eyeballs side to side. And you can make it, try to figure out how to make her look at the camera. And there you go. Now she's looking at the camera. My settings are also from Haley's. I've set this up. I've kept it this way ever since. You can take a screenshot of my settings. This is how I have everything. I don't think that's important. I set it to best. Yep. And then here, you can also take a screenshot of that. That's usually how I have my settings. But if you have any questions, you can ask in Mandy's Discord, and I will try to help you to the best of my ability. And then once I'm done with everything, I just click this up here, the render to picture, and click OK. And then we wait for this to finish. After it is finished, you just come up here to File, and then you save as. And then that is everything that I do. I hope that wasn't too fast for you guys. If you need to, you can go in the video to pause to figure out what I'm doing step by step. But I hope this helped you. Back to Mandy.
Alrighty, and thank you so much, Matt, for that very lovely and detailed description. So here we are in Photoshop, and I'm going to show you guys how to create a thumbnail. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to come over here to File, and you're going to click New. And then you're going to do a custom. I like to do 1208 in width and 720 in height, and the resolution at 300. Make sure that your height, that your stuff is going to be in pixels and not in inches, because it's going to be really weird in inches and I don't like that. So just make sure it's in pixels. And yeah, so this is the default YouTube, thumbnail size. So that is the size that you are going to want to put it at. So once you have that, you're gonna get a little nice screenshot of Minecraft or your set or whatever, and make sure that you've got everything. Okay, so you're gonna go to wherever you have your screenshot or picture of your set. I just keep all mine in my screenshots folder, so I am going to just quickly pick one and we're gonna go from there. I think this one is really nice, so I'm just going to drag and drop this over into Photoshop. And yep, that's going to be the background for the thumbnail. And now I'm going to go to wherever I saved that render for this. This is the exact render that Matt did make. And I'm just going to drag and drop, and I'm going to overlay these two things. So you can see they're both on their own separate layers. And you can unlock this background, and you can kind of get rid of it if you want it, because you don't really need it, because this is the new background. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pressing Control T to kind of resize this a little bit to make sure that all of the picture is filled. And there we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around a little bit with the background. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go over to filter, and then I'm going to go over to blur, and then I'm going to click on Gaussian blur. This is one of the more easier ways to blur a background out. And it's a lot more easy when your render is separated from your, actual background. I like to do like a 2.5 because I still like for it to be somewhat in focus, but I want most of the focus on this main character right here on my thumbnail person or my render. And then if the background isn't as pretty as you would want it or isn't as vibrant as you want it, you can come over to image adjustments, brightness and contrast. This you're gonna have to play around a little bit with, but I like to go within like the 15 for brightness and maybe in like the 20 or maybe even like 30 for contrast, and then I'll up or down the brightness however I feel like it needs to be up or down. And I feel like that's good, that's pretty decent. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing, image adjustments and then vibrance. This I play around a lot with, just because once you see, you're not going to see much of a change when I do the vibrance. So I'm going to set 30 for the vibrance. You didn't see much of a change, but you're going to see a lot of a change even if I do a 10 with the saturation. And that's what we're going to watch. We're going to watch the saturation and we're going to see where we want it. I like things a little bit more saturated and a little bit more vibrant, and that's just what I personally like. So I'm gonna do about like a 20-25 ratio on that. And as you can see, the smart filters are, just layering themselves down here, and you can turn them off or on at any point. And that's one thing that I really do like about Photoshop, that you can do that. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess around with this render right here. And I'm gonna do Control T again, and I'm gonna mess around with the render a little bit. I'm gonna make her a little bit bigger, maybe, it's maybe a little easier when you have like a logo of some sort, and then she can kind of, be proportioned to the size of the logo. So let me try and look for a logo really quickly. So right here, you can see I have the Starlight Studios logo, and I'm actually going to size it a little bit, and you can see that I am kind of moving stuff around and playing with the sizes of stuff just so that way it's going to, be kind of nicely centered and whatnot. But that's basically what I mean. By doing, making sure that she is symmetrical to the logo and making sure that it doesn't look really weird. But usually if you have like a roleplay thumbnail, what I like to do is I like to center my characters, and then I like to make my logo kind of smallish, and then putting it in like, the corner wherever you feel like is necessary. I like putting it like there, or maybe like right there. It just depends where you put the logo depending on what's going on within the picture. But this is just a standard pose, so that's pretty good. And now I'm going to play around with this character a little bit. I'm going to go to filter once again, and I'm going to go to sharpen. I like to sharpen my renders just because she already looks good. She already looks pretty sharp. But I like to add on an extra layer so that way she pops out from the background even more. And now I'm going to do what I assume everybody assumes I do with my thumbnails, and I'm going to mess with the brightness and contrast. So for this, I'm going to go 20. Yeah, that's a little bit too bright for me. So 15, and then let's do a 30. And yep, that's pretty good. I like that. She looks clear. She looks really nice. She stands out way more from the background. That's what I like. And now I'm going to do the same thing, but with vibrance, just like I did with the background. We're doing the same thing with the render. So that is what I like to do for the vibrance and saturation and whatnot. Usually I go a little bit more vibrant and I do like a 25, but with the way that the background is and the way that all of the saturation is, it would look better at just 20 or 100. That's great too. That looks fantastic. But I like to stick around like the 20-25 area with saturation just because I like the character to pop out. I use colors that are specifically going to catch the eye, like obviously, well, the green for my characters because my eyes are green, but the purple hair is very eye-catching and the yellow sweater is very eye-catching. They're also two of my favorite colors, so that's why I use them and stuff like that. And sometimes with the saturation that you want, it can be a little overbearing. So what I like to do is I like to go here, go to adjustments, and go to a photo filter and do a photo filter over the character. Usually I do a violet photo filter, and that makes the character look a little bit paler. It makes them look a little bit more still vibrant, but you know, not as in your face vibrant, a little bit more desaturated, if that makes any sort of sense. And just depending on the color of the background, I'll like maybe do like a blue, or maybe I'll do like a magenta, but usually I stick with violet, just because I like how that looks. And yeah, so you can see the difference without all that and with all that, without with. And I'm actually going to turn this off because I don't like it there. I don't like how that looks. And another quick thing that you can add to your thumbnails to make them a little bit more eye-catching is you can use something along the lines of a comic book speed lines or like anime speed lines or whatever. So something like this. So basically something like this that you can adjust the size to the picture and whatnot and everything like that. It doesn't really matter, within my opinion, the quality of these because we're going to turn them down. But what I want to do is I'm going to get the, you know, the stuff out of here. So I'm going to go to the magic wand tool, and basically how that is you right click this and then you do that, and then you select whatever you don't want there, and then what you have to do is you have to rasterize the layer. That way you're able to edit it, and then boom, look at that. And it looks a little janky right now. I know, I'm aware. So one thing that I am going to do is I am going to put a color overlay over this, and I'm just going to make the color overlay just black. That's it, just black. And then I'm gonna set the opacity for this to be like, I don't know, 20. Another way that I think it might look a little better is if you make the color overlay white. Sometimes I do black, sometimes I do white. I think white looks a little bit better within certain situations, and depending on how, you know, much that's going to be showing up, I may even turn it down to like 10, something like that, so it's not so in your face. And that just adds a little bit of like flair or a little bit of something to the screenshot. Another thing that I actually like to do, I know I'm going back and forth between this and the render, but another thing I like to do with renders is I actually like to add a no, not a stroke, well, yes, sometimes I like to add an outer glow depending on what the screenshot is. For this, I don't really think it needs it, but like maybe like a little bit, like a, like, you know, like a 10 or like a 5 to make it just stand out a little bit more. And then, you know, a little bit of a drop shadow. I like to do that, but I also like to do a little bit of an inner glow. It's not a huge difference, but it adds on. It adds on and it looks really nice. So basically I have the choke on 10, the size on 30, and then the overlay on 25. And yeah, it is an overlay. You can do normal and it'll look like that, and then you can make it go down even further and then it'll look more like that, or maybe even like a 15. It'll look a little bit like that. Sometimes I like the normal, sometimes I like the overlay, depending on what I'm going for. But yeah, that is basically the thumbnail, and that's basically how I make a thumbnail with a render, a background, and a couple extra things. Sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. It really just depends, and I kind of just don't like the one that I picked, honestly, but it looks good for now, and I like how that looks and everything. So yeah, the character stands out really well. She doesn't blend in, she'll pop up and everything like that. You know, if there's a logo on it, the logo can kind of go in the corner or whatever you want to do. And yeah, I like it personally without the logo. I like how that looks a little bit better. But yeah, so this is very much, in my opinion, eye-catching. If you size it down and if you scroll out a little bit, you can see a lot of the details still a little bit, because it'll be around like maybe like that size. One thing that you're gonna want to do a lot when you make thumbnails is scroll out. Just scroll out a little bit, so that way you see like how it's gonna look in a smaller image. So yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to scroll out. I like to see how it's gonna look smaller, and if it looks good and it still stands out and everything kind of like goes well together when it's smaller, then I know it's gonna work pretty well. So for the next portion of this video, I'm going to talk about Blockbuster and Metamorph. Blockbuster and Metamorph is a very easy way to create thumbnails inside of Minecraft. I think this is the method that most people will lean towards, as it's a lot more easily accessible and takes the least amount of time, within my opinion, depending on how you go about it and what editing you want to do to the screenshot. For this method, you're going to need Minecraft, you're going to need the mods Blockbuster and Metamorph, obviously, and McLib, as McLib is the supporting mod for both of those mods. And then you're going to need some sort of like photo editing program. I'm going to use Photoshop once again to show you how I edit the screenshot later. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set up your NPC or your model with Blockbuster and then attach a skin. So I am now over here in this little marketplace area, and I am going to place down this model block, and you're going to go to the Blockbuster portion, or you're going to go here into search items and you're just going to type in model, and then you're going to take that and you're going to place it down, and it's going to be like boop right there, it's placed down. Now I actually want it facing a specific direction, but right now I think that's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to right click this. Once you've right clicked it, you're going to go over here to pick. Now you're in the pick mode. What you're going to do is you're going to click the emoticons model, and you're going to pick whatever one is going to be good for you. For me, that's going to be the Steve model, because all of my skins are in Steve, they are not in Alex. And this is the emoticons default, because there's going to be the default simple, there's going to be the simple plus. I just do the default because it's an emoticons one, and that's the one I'm going to want, so I can have all of the correct posing limbs and whatnot. So once I have that, I'm going to click edit, and I am now here. Once I am here, I am going to click right here in meshes. Then I'm going to click body, and then I'm going to click pick texture. Once I'm here and click pick texture, I'm going to go to BA, and then I'm going to go to Fred, and then I'm going to pick this skin that I have gotten for myself. And this is one of the skins that I have already in the folder, and I'll show you how to put skins into that folder right now. So basically, you're going to go to wherever your Minecraft folder is. So for me, I'm using CurseForge, and I'm using like an instance of CurseForge, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to here, but for you, you're gonna go into your roaming folder, and to go into your roaming folder, you're gonna do that, and you're gonna do %app data %, and you're going to then click open, and then from there that should open up your roaming folder, and then you're going to click Minecraft, and then from here you're just going to follow whatever I do. So you're going to go into config, and then you're going to go into Blockbuster, and then from here you can either put it directly into this folder and it'll redirect it for you into the correct folder, or you could just go straight to the source, models, whatever model you're going to do. If you have an Alex model, put it in Alex. If you have a Fred model or a Steve model, put it in Fred. If you have Steve, put it in Steve, whatever. And so mine are in Fred, so I'm going to click Fred skins, and then that is where the skin is. That is where you're going to put the skin. Usually I have all of my skins preloaded in here, but yeah, that's just where you put the skins in order for Blockbuster to register it. So now that you've picked the skin and everything, you're going to go back to general. And now you're going to create your pose. So you're going to click create posts, and then you're gonna have all of these options. I am going to tell you right now, I do not mess with anchor and I do not mess with the body unless I absolutely need to mess with those, just because I don't like messing with things that I know that I can mess up really easily. What I do is I don't animate my pose. I make it still, so that way the screenshot is going to be more consistent, because if you make the pose animated, then she's going to breathe and stuff like that with the type of stuff, with all of that, and I just don't like how that looks. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to move around and mess with the pose for this character. So she's happy. I picked a happy skin. She's smiling, she's excited. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make both of her hands touch her like chin kind of, and we're gonna see how that goes. So first I'm going to go to her left arm, and I am going to try and rotate it. Yeah, it's gonna have to rotate up a little bit, and then it's also going to have to rotate over a little bit. So yeah, there we go. I think that's okay. And then I'm going to go to the lower left arm, and that's going to be the elbow, and I'm basically going to do that. And by the way, it's going to go up by 15 every time. It's going to go up by 15, so that's why it's going to look like that. But yeah, it's going to go up like that. And I'm going to go back to the left arm, and I am going to kind of do that a little bit, and I'm gonna make it go all the way up right there. I think I'm going to do that, and then kind of try to, I don't know, I'm just, this is a lot of like messing around with it and trying to mess with a bunch of this stuff. You can just like directly input like letters and numbers, by the way. So if I don't want 15 but I want to go up by 5 instead, and I just want to do 20, I can just do 20. Boom, there, 20. It's right there, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So yeah, and if I wanted to go up but I don't want it to go that far up, I can come here and I can just do 70, and then boom, it's in like a basic direct area. And that's pretty good. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing, but with the other arm. And to give this just like a little bit more flair, I'm going to go to the lower left arm end, and I'm just gonna make the hand go in like a little bit, just like a tiny bit, not a lot, just a little bit, just you know, just negative 15. That's good. That's it. That's all I need. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the other arm. Now this is where I messed up a little bit. As you can see, I basically copied everything over from the left arm to the right arm, and that's not what I want to do. So what I'm going to do, I think, is where I messed up was with I think it was with, not that, I think it was with, yeah, it was with this one. So for the bottom one, for the Z, you're gonna basically want to go the opposite direction than what I did. So yeah, you're basically just gonna want to go the up. By the way, I'm doing this by holding and dragging. If you're wondering how I did that, I held and dragged basically. So yeah, but it's gonna be, you know, negative for the bottom one, and then if you want like negative for the middle one as well. That's 25, that's 20, so I'm gonna fix that and change this to negative 20. I'm just doing that with my numpad, by the way. And then I'm gonna want to find the lower right, and I'm just gonna do like a negative 15. There we go. That's good. That's good. And now I'm gonna mess around with the head a little bit. So with the head, it's a little bit more simple. Do I want to look up? Do I want to look down a little bit more? I think I want to look down a little bit, but I don't want her to look that much down. So I'm gonna do like a 5, and I think that looks pretty good. It kind of looks like she's shouting at someone, honestly. But hey, to each their own. And even if I want a little bit more like consistency, I can even do this. I can go to and do a 65 instead of a 70. that way it's not 100%, you know, matchy, and it's gonna be a little less, like, you know, coordinated, if that makes sense. It's just gonna be a little bit more realistic, within my opinion. So yeah, so back to the head, and then I'm going to I'm gonna rotate her head a little bit and do something like that, but I'm not gonna do that much, obviously. I'm gonna do like a 5, and then for this one I'm gonna do like, I think I'm gonna do a 10 for that one. And yeah, now that I moved her head like that though, I am going to want to maybe move the body a little bit. I don't normally move the body because that's what happens when you move the body, but I want her body to kind of like match the rest of her. So I am going to, I'm gonna find the right one and get back to you. Low body. Okay, the low body is what I wanted to do. So for low body, it's just gonna move her waist. It's not gonna move her whole thing. It's just gonna move her waist. So I'm gonna want to move her waist like maybe 5. That way she has a little bit more dimension to her. Because the only thing I really do, because like the whole body is just gonna move her whole body. If you just do the lower body, it's just gonna move her waist, and then her waist is gonna have a little bit more dimension to it. And then even if people aren't gonna see it, I like to move the legs because I don't know, I just like to move the legs. So for this, I'm going to move the left leg. Yeah, the left leg. Okay, and I'm gonna go the other way because I feel like it looks a little bit better. And then I'm gonna do the low left leg, and I'm going to kind of make it look like it's bending a little bit. Oh my god, it looks like it's broken that way. I'm gonna do that a little bit, and because like that, it kind of looks like she's like tripping a little bit. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to move this 10. Do I like how that looks? Maybe we're gonna leave it, and then I'm gonna do the other leg. So for the right leg, I'm just gonna go in the opposite direction. I'm gonna do that, and then for the low leg left, I'm going to once again do that, but in the opposite direction. But like, no, in the same direction actually, because that's how it would look. And I like to do that, and then sometimes I like to go to here, and I like to like separate the legs a little bit, just not by a lot, by like maybe 3, -3, just so it looks like the legs are a little bit farther apart than they normally would be, because usually they're like right up against each other. I'm gonna do like -2, just so that way it looks a little bit, you know, it looks a little bit better, I guess. So it kind of looks like she's, you know, doing a little walk, trying to get someone's attention, you know. Or maybe I can have her like put her other arm up and like kind of wave a little bit. Maybe I can do that, and that'll look a little bit better. Because sometimes when I do posing like this, I will pose a character a certain way and then decide, wait, this kind of looks a little bit like this, that might look a little bit better. So I'm gonna take her arm, and I'm gonna mess up everything that I did, and I am going to go and move it up like this, just a little bit, and that way it looks like she is, you know, waving at someone, be like, hey, come over here. And I'm going to kind of change this a little bit. I'm gonna make that go a little bit out. Yeah, I'm gonna have it stop there, and then I'm gonna have the arm get a little bit closer to the body if possible. Yeah, like that. See, that looks good. That looks like she's like, hey, come over here, what's up, like, you know. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna save this pose and all that good stuff. So basically, once you're done, you're just gonna leave it like that. That's the pose. That's it. You don't gotta do nothing else. I just do I do that, and then it's saved literally right there. So I am going to get out of that, and that is the saved pose. So now what I'm gonna do is the fun part, which is going to be the, you know, setting her up and all that type of stuff, which might take a little bit. So I am going to, basically how I did that is I did control and then I middle clicked my mouse scroll wheel, and then I picked her up exactly. And then I can just kind of like move her around if I need to. I'm gonna move her to like right there. And then I'm actually gonna go back in here and I'm just going to rotate her a little bit using these, and I'm just gonna rotate her so that way she's facing like right there. And I like that a little bit better because I like that background a lot more. So now what I'm gonna do is, since that's a thing, is what am I doing with my life? I don't know at this point. I'm going to go into game mode 3. I'm gonna go into adventure mode. And I'm going to set my FOV to Quake Pro, and then I'm going to press C. I'm going to zoom in with C, which is an Optifine thing, and then I'm going to pick whatever type of angle that I like. I don't know. I want something that is going to be like, hey, what's up? Come over here. Something like that, because she's obviously on the move and stuff like that. So maybe like right there, that's maybe cool. I also want to press F1 when I do that, so that way that doesn't get within my screenshot. So I'm pressing F2 to take screenshots. I'm messing around with the angle a little bit. I obviously want to get her full face in my screenshot. I might want to move her a little bit now, and that's a little bit more of the angle that I was kind of thinking. I was thinking something more like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna try and find like a decent like pose, or maybe I'll put her in a completely different area altogether, because I don't know if this area is working out for me all that well. So I'm gonna move her, and we're gonna move over to a different area. Maybe I'll go in this little area right here, and I'll place her down like right there. But that means that I have to angle her again. So that means I am going to have to move her like that. Like dot. 150. Sure, that's good, I guess. This is all just like eyeballing it and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work. And maybe I even want to change the time of day. Time set like 6,000. That's gonna be where the sun is at its highest peak in the sky, right up there. And maybe that's better lighting for me. Maybe that's something I want. Maybe I don't want the morning glow of Minecraft, you know what I mean? I'm gonna try a different one. So 1,500. Let's see what that looks like. That I don't know. She's kind of under a tree too, so she got some shade and stuff going on. Maybe I can do time set 750. See what that looks like. It just looks more of the same. Honestly, it just looks more of the same. So I think I got something that I do like already. So I'm going to go back into game mode 1. And I am going to get rid of her, and that is basically that for the Blockbuster portion. I know it's a lot of setting up and it's a lot of hassle and whatnot, and I am very far away, and it's a lot of like hassle and whatnot, but I honestly think it's a really great way to do screenshots in Minecraft, and just to do that. And even with just that could just be your thumbnail. That's it. That's your thumbnail. You're done. But if you want to edit it a little bit more, I'll show you how I edit my screenshots. Hello, we are here again in Photoshop. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a brand new thumbnail, brand new, absolutely brand new. And we're going to go into where we keep our screenshots again. So I am here in the screenshots folder, and I'm going to pick which screenshot I like the best. So I'm going to just click them, open them, and just look at them. Do I like that one? And that's all kind of okay. That's not what I wanted to. Okay then. Do I like this one? This was the one I was leaning more towards because I kind of liked it a little bit better within my opinion. I think it looks really nice. I think it looks really good. Do I like this one? This one kind of caught my eye a little bit. I don't know. I kind of like that one too. I don't know. This one or the bottom one? they're kind of at the same angle and everything. So this one's a little bit warmer and it's more like directed on her, and this one she is more cold. I think I like the warmer one a little better, so I think I'm gonna go with this one. I've changed my mind. We're going with this one because I like it better. So basically what I like to do for all of this is I like to separate the character from the background, and doing that is really annoying in Photoshop. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to select, and then I'm going to go to select and mask. And basically what that's going to do is going to bring me to this area. And I'm basically going to select what I want to separate from the background. And that is basically this character. And you can tell by this transparency. Right now it's on 20. I can amp it up to like 30. That way I can distinguish what I am highlighting from the background and all that type of stuff. Because sometimes when you have white on your clothing, it's a little hard to distinguish what I am taking away from the background and what I'm keeping for the background. So you can see right here, I'm gonna amp it up just a little bit more to 50. You can see that I highlighted a little bit of the background. That's okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to radius over here. No, I'm not gonna go to radius. I'm gonna go to smooth. I'm gonna smooth it out. I'm gonna smooth out the edges. I'm gonna make sure it all looks super nice. I think it's on 20 right now. I'm gonna amp it up to 30 and see how I like that. That's a little too smooth for me. I'm gonna go to 15. 15 looks good to me. I like 15. 15 is a-okay. Did I miss that? I did miss that. See, that's why I amp up the transparency, so I know if I missed something or not. So okay, smoothing, that's good. Feathering, I don't do a lot of feathering, I'll be honest. Feathering, it scares me because you see that, but it gives a little dimension. So I do like a little bit of feathering, but not like a lot of feathering. I'll do like a 1 or a 2 maybe, or like a 0.5 if I like it. I'm gonna do I think a 1 is okay. Let me do a 0.5 and see how that looks. A 0.5, actually I like the 0.5. I know it's very different, but it's fine. Shift edge, I'm gonna do that, or edge shift, I'm gonna do that. I like to do that, and I like to go into the negatives with it, so I'm gonna go like -20. That way I know I'm getting exactly what I need from this, and I'm only getting the character. So that's good. And then contrast, I don't know what that does. I don't care. Yeah, don't care what that does. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I am going to do a little zoomy. I'm gonna do a little zoomy. I'm gonna click this over here. I'm gonna zoom into this spot in particular right there, and I am going to get rid of it. I'm gonna get rid of it. It's gonna be gone. I don't want it within what I'm doing, so I am just going to deselect it as best as I can. I might not be able to get all of it, but I think, is that good enough? Is that noticeable? Sometimes when you do this, it might not be noticeable at all. To me, that's not that noticeable, so I'm gonna leave it like that. It might be a little bit noticeable later, but it's fine. Right here, I don't believe this is my character at all. I believe this is like cobblestone in the background. So I am going to just try and deselect this the best I can without selecting something else that I don't want to, select. I'm going to make sure that this is all, done. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. I'm going to zoom back out, and I'm going to make sure that I got everything, that is what I want, that everything is correctly highlighted. I think it is. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to press OK. So now she is selected. Everything is selected greatly. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do Control C and then Control V. First, I'm gonna rasterize the layer so I can edit it. I'm gonna rasterize the picture so I can do that, but I'm going to do Control C, Control V. Why am you not Y? Hello. Okay, so Control C, Control V. Perfect. I did it. I don't know why that. I have a thing in my ear going off. I don't know why, but okay. So now she's separated from the background, so that's really great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these. I'm going to do Control T. And I'm going to make her a little bigger. I do both of them just so that way it, you know, it's to size basically. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to basically do everything that I did with the other thumbnail, and I'm just basically going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go to blur. I'm going to go to Gaussian blur. I'm going to blur it out. That's cool. I like how that's blurred out. I like how she kind of sticks out a little bit more now. I'm going to go to a filter. No, I'm going to go to image, brightness and contrast. I like to edit it a little bit still, so I don't like that. 25? I mean 30? I don't know what I want. What do I want? What do I want today? 35? I'm gonna stick with 20-30 ratio. And I'm going to go to vibrance, and basically I'm just gonna mess around with numbers. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna mess around with numbers. That's it. I don't really like that. I don't like that. I don't like how that looks. I'm gonna do a 15-20. So with the vibrance, you can't really tell unless you go really low. So I'm going to do like a 15 and like a 30. Why not? It doesn't really change much of anything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a photo filter. I'm going to go with violet, so that way I feel like it evens out a lot of the colors, but it's still a little bit more vibrant. So now we're going to edit this girly. What we're going to do is we're going to go here, we're going to go to sharpen, and we're going to go to smart sharpen. Basically, I'm literally speeding through this because you guys literally saw me do this with the other screenshot. But this is a little bit more in depth. I showed you how to select and mask, and I showed you how to do all that stuff. And now we're just going through the same steps that I did with the other one, with the other thumbnail, but we're basically just repeating them here, so that way it all looks nice and dandy and cute. With screenshots like this though, when I'm physically separating a character from a screenshot, I do like to amp up the sharpening. I like to amp it up a little bit just so that way it's very clear that she is being pulled out from the background, and that's what I'm gonna do. I am then going to do a brightness and contrast. I'm gonna do a 30 in brightness and a 20 in contrast, and then I'm gonna go down to 15 in brightness, 20 in brightness, 30 in contrast. So I like how that looks. I do like how that looks. I like how it's, yeah. But the thing, hold on, the thing with this is that like in this screenshot where we have all of these down here, you cannot turn off anything here. You can undo things by doing like Control Z, but you can't like turn it off and on basically, because it's a rasterized layer, and that means it's editable, but we won't see any of the edits that we're making because it's not in its original form anymore. So that's why that's happening. If you hear anything in the background, it is my PC fan. It has decided to start working, so that's lit. But we're basically just going to do another vibrance, 20, 30. We'll see how that looks. She got a little bit brighter, honestly. I don't really like this, but I know that this is from the shaders, and I can't really control that. You know what I mean? Can't really control how that is, so I'm just gonna not worry about it. I'm gonna do 25. I do want her to be a bit brighter, so I'm gonna up the brightness just a little bit. 15. I think that looks good. I think that looks nice. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to put a photo filter over her, so that way she matches the background a little bit more. Sometimes I may even do a different one, so that's what the violet is gonna look like. I may do like a magenta. The magenta doesn't look good. I may do a blue. The blue I think looks okay. I think the blue looks okay. Sometimes I might do like a cyan. I don't really want to do that. Green, and don't like that. Yellow. You know what? I like the yellow. It makes her not look as cold. It makes her look a little bit warmer. In the background, it's kind of warm, so I like that a little bit more. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff to her, just a bunch of stuff. I'm going to add a drop shadow to her. Drop shadows I kind of keep around like the same, but sometimes I like the drop shadow to be a little bit more out there. So sometimes I put the spread to 10, so that way it's a little bit more, you know, you can see it a little bit more, because drop shadow, no drop shadow, drop shadow, no drop shadow, drop shadow. I'm gonna put it to 10 because I don't want it to be that visible, but I want it to be there. I'm also gonna do an outer glow, and I'm going to put that to an overlay actually, and I'm gonna amp it up to like a 15. And that kind of cancels out the drop shadow actually, so I'm not gonna put it on because it's all about messing with stuff, and I don't like that with this specific thumbnail. It's gonna cancel out the drop shadow, so I'm not gonna do it. I am gonna do the inner glow because I like it. I am going to lower it a little bit because I don't like how upfront that is. I'm gonna do a 5 maybe. Maybe I can do like an 8. I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like the 8. I like how it outlines her. I like how it makes her stick out a little bit more. So basically, if you want to add more to the character or whatnot, or even not the character, I don't do this to the character all that often. So I'm going to press OK. And now I'm going to go to the background. So the background's going to look a little crazy. I'm going to add a gradient overlay. And what I'm going to do is I am going to pick something from here, whether I want it to be purples or whatever. Do I want it to look darker? But okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. I'm going to do an overlay, and then I'm going to set that overlay to like 50. And then that's going to give it a little bit more dimension. And then the angle of it, I'm actually going to angle it like in the corner more. Like that, so that way the background has a little bit more dimension going on. So another thing I like to use are light leaks. Basically, light leaks are little pictures that you can get like off of Google, and you just overlay them onto whatever you're doing, onto the photo. So I'm going to make this fit a little bit with this photo that with this thumbnail that I'm doing, and I'm going to overlay it over the top. I'm going to change the thing to overlay, and then I'm going to just down the opacity. As you can see, it changes the picture a lot. It changes it a lot. It changes up the lighting. It gives things a little bit more of definition, and I like it a lot. I like using these, especially when photos kind of feel blah. It gives them a little bit more of an oomph. I can even like put this back there, but I like to overlay it over the character too sometimes, just so that way she blends a little bit more with the rest of the picture. And sometimes I'll even use like multiple light leaks within one thing. So that one was a little bit warm, so now I'm going to do something that's a little bit more cool. I'm gonna try to do this one. I'm gonna see what it looks like. Sometimes we can even do different ones. That's not just overlay, but that's normally what I do. I normally just do an overlay. And this one I'm going to do at a 20. And I don't know if I like that as much as I liked the other one. This one adds a little bit more purple to the picture, obviously. And it adds a little bit more definition and stuff like that. I think I like that one. Now what I'm doing is I'm basically just going to add these comic book lines like I did in the last one, and I'm going to just take away all of the other stuff. So I'm going to rasterize this layer, and then I'm going to press backspace, and yep, that's basically what it's going to look like. For this, I'm going to do a white color overlay, so I'm just going to do like the normal one. Yep, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna put it actually behind the character, and then I'm going to lower the opacity. I always like to stay within like the 20-ish type of range, but sometimes it may need to just go to like 5 so it's a little subtle, or maybe you can go to like 10. Or if I want it to be super subtle, I can go to 5, but then I can also use another trick, and that is to put a drop shadow behind it, so it kind of stands out a little bit, but it doesn't stand out too much, if that makes sense. And I think this is basically an okay thumbnail, and I'm going to back out a little bit just so I can see what it's gonna look like smaller. And I think that looks good. One thing I am going to change is I'm going to up this to maybe like an 8 so it's more defined and more out there. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I think that looks like a pretty decent and good thumbnail. And you can always just overlay like, you can always just overlay a, you know, add your little logo. I'm just gonna drag the other logo over from there. I'm gonna put it in the corner and boom, donezo, perfect. Yeah, that's basically how I make a thumbnail with Blockbuster and Metamorph and Photoshop. So yeah, hopefully you guys liked this. And hopefully you guys found this informational and hopefully you liked it. I hope that I explained everything well and all that stuff. And I hope you guys found the video helpful. If you have any more questions about thumbnails or whatnot, you can always just comment them down below. Everything that I linked down in the description if you're interested in Cinema 4D or Photoshop or even Minimator or GIMP. I'm going to link all of that stuff down in the description for you guys. And also, if Matt didn't already mention it, make sure to go check out Matt's channel, CxsmicVibess, and make sure to check out Matt's commissions, because he actually does commissions for renders and skins and thumbnails. So if you would like to see any of that from Matt, then go over to his channel. He'll also be linked in the description. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope to see you in the next one. I hope you're having a good day / night / whatever time it is for you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye, guys.